Hello ladies and gentlemen, SeKo Starcraft bringing you a pro replay between Acer's Nerchio, Pierre, the top center-ish thing, versus WarBudTek. Never even heard of this guy before. But this is for the CS Storm Go for SC2 tournament going on right now. So I figured I'd give you a good Terran versus Zerg. Always a great matchup to cast. And a have fun and a good luck from Mr. Nerchio. Now this map I've actually started to really enjoy a lot, but the dynamics of it are really strange for me with this, you know, kind of pocket expansion in the back. Zerg versus Zerg on this map is always crazy. The expansion directions are always kind of strange. It's such a big movement from the second to whatever third you're taking, even though it's close to your main. Creep for the Zerg is difficult to use. This base in the back is sometimes taken super late, if never at all, which always blows my mind, because if you can take this base, you should be able to take the back base. What are you going to do? Looks as though the Terran is... Well, there might be for a bit of mind games there, putting it off to one side. A little bit strange. I think his supply depot isn't actually lined up ideally anyways. Maybe that's why he's doing that, is because he totally misplaced his supply depot. Might be a little bit nervous. It is Nerchio after all. We're going to be having an expansion before pool. We do have a gas. They'll be finished up before the barracks, so we might see a Reaper pop out of here. The positioning of this barracks is kind of weird, so I'm thinking it's going to be for Reapers. Get them a little bit of a head start popping off to head across the map. Overlords in good positions. It's pretty easy to just skip around in this area there as a Zerg player and keep your Overlord alive. Having this down here to scout for a fast third is worthwhile. Pool on the way, orbital start up. There is our Reaper. Now we should be able to tell if we're going to be saving up a bunch of money to be able to get him out. There's actually only 2 people in gas. What if that's a mistake? It's not often you see that with a Terran player. To see if he wants to do that for a great Reaper timing. 1 person in gas. Oh, it looks like this is just for a double Reaper opening into expand. It's just been super optimized. Except for that one last worker. It's been essentially super optimized just to get out 2 Reapers. Or to get himself out of reactor. Same thing. Worker is heading home. Must have saw the Reaper bouncing around. Queen on the way, 4 lings. 6 lings actually, a little bit more lings than I would have suspected. That might be so we can try to run a couple by and deny the expansion. Doesn't actually get that last drone. There he goes, he gets it. Looks like the Reaper will get away. Just sneaks it out of there. Did get himself 1 drone kill. That was really close. I'm surprised he doesn't turn around these 2 lings and try to sandwich it. Now it's up to repairing. And we'll see those 2 lings coming back. It'll actually be able to snipe those without too much concern. What Nerchio was hoping to do is deny this command center. But not only is the Reaper out, but there's also 2 lings here as well. And it goes down. I'm distracted by a cat that's attacking me right now. It's okay though. So pretty standard opening out of this point. Extra commitment into Marines here. Quite a few Marines instead of actually getting out any Hellions. Very interesting. Usually you get those Marines out if you want to go for a bit of an earlier push. That Reaper did not die well. If you want to go for a bit of an earlier push and deny a 3rd base. Having out, you know, 12 Marines or so, it can be really tough for a Zerg player to handle in the early game unless they have roaches or they have themselves out a, you know, actually banelings. But that's usually not a really fast tech choice for a Zerg player unless they want to put pressure on. More Marines, first tank on the way. This might just be for a really, really nifty early 2-base timing to deny that third. I'd be pretty happy with that. Anyways, he's got to make use of these units. He's invested a lot of money, a lot of resources overall into just getting a more army instead of more economy. He could have easily afforded a third command center by now. Instead, looks like he's going to get out the classic medevac tank and marine army to go for some pressure. The Zerg player has not really invested that much into units at all, and is probably expecting Hellions. You can tell by the positioning of these queens to prevent run-bys. He's got the upgrades on the go, layer on the way, about half done, and lots of upgrades. Whereas our Terran player is much more interested to actually go for a push. 1 tank, about 8 marines. Not everything he's got, which is surprising to me. I would have thought he would have emptied out his emptied out the bunker as well. Killing an overlord, always very worthwhile. If you can deny just a little bit of the, supply cap available. Did get one of the SCVs down there. Another free overlord, actually. That turned out pretty good. This is really funky, this bunker push here. It's not really that much of an army at this point. I don't think there's even speed for the Zerglings right now. And another overlord goes down. That's so unfortunate there for Nerchio. Just a little bit of impatience on the control and the unit production. Lots of Zerglings out, but they don't have speed. The third base will go down. And I think the Terran player is going to be okay to just kind of head home from here. Got the damage in that he needed to. Great little push. I like that a lot. He does have a medevac to pick this stuff up. What the? Pick this stuff up. There we go. Well, he didn't get everything. A little sloppy on the pickup there. I think he misclicked a little bit. And he actually isn't going to get the cancel on the bunker as well. Or is he? Yeah. Terran salvage for the win. Still worthwhile. Even if he lost himself a handful of workers and marines in that push. I think it was a very effective one. Third base on the way. Is he doing this all off of 1 barracks, 1 factory, and 1 starport? That's ridiculous. Now he's going to move into Mech actually behind that, and a Banshee. This is pretty strange actually. We have a roach play, a commitment into roach play on here. Roach speed's going to be finishing before Zergling speed. Double expand. Terran player's already ready to put pressure on this side of things. Should kill that creep tumor while he's got the opportunity. There you go. Banshee's gonna put in a few hits here. Might get a bit of an intercept here. The Terran player is not the tanks. Lost a lot of roaches, but losing 4 tanks is pretty bad. I'm surprised that WarBudTek, just gonna call him WarTech or something like that, didn't actually run the tanks past the Marines. That was the important part that I think you really wanted to keep. Losing 4 tanks with only that 1 factory that's finished right now is pretty difficult to recover from. I'm actually very surprised that we don't see Nerchio going for a standard Zergling into Mutalisk kind of play. A bit of pathing problems there. Probably could drop those supply depots, make life a bit easier. Looks like he wants to push out and go for more of a late game play now. Did the damage he wanted to in denying those bases. Is probably just going to try to bunker up here in the middle, expand over to this direction, and then behind his base. Get out an unstoppable mech army, probably around 2-2, 160, 170 supply, and then just go for a bigger push. Nerchio really doesn't have any siege units here. It's just the roaches. If he had a Nidus worm, if he had Mutalisks, if he was teching to broodlords, or even swarm hosts would be nice. I think he'd be in a bit of a spot to put some damage back in on his opponent. Nerchio supply blocked again. See this base here. If you lose that command center, I'm not going to be impressed. Quite a bit of units there for Nerchio. Looks like he might decide to go for it. There are Hellbats in here to deal with the Zerglings pretty good. He is going to snipe off a couple of tanks. Roaches are pretty tanky. He might actually be able to snipe this command center. He will, actually. Nope, just about. I'm actually kind of surprised that WarBudTek didn't expand over to the left-hand side of the map, where you would have been able to draw a little bit more of a siege line. In this case, he's actually got to put himself into a much riskier position in order to really try to deal with this army. Whereas expanding over here, you can build this really great siege line right along the middle, and then push towards the watchtower into the Zerg space a little bit easier. This base is just much more difficult to be able to control. Looks like some Hellbat drops. Always got time for Hellbat drops. Banshee clearing out the watchtower, might as well. I'm surprised with the investment into roaches. Ooh, roach burrow. Cool. Moving up to a hive tech. Interested to see what Nerchio's late game decision here is. He doesn't have any hydras. He hasn't gone for the swarm host play. He knows he's going up against this interesting combination of mech with a sprinkling of marines into it. It's a really funky layout for mech. This map's fun, but your main base is pretty small. It's better to try to, you know, build some of your buildings maybe a little bit out in the middle where it's easier for them to rejoin your army. Okie doke. Blue flame, +2 weapons. Looks like the Terran player is interested in maybe going for a bit of a push here now. So sieging everything he's got. Sensor tower up. Fancy. Banshee's still over here being a little bit of a jerk. Now this isn't an amazing army here for WarBudTek, and he's not pushing out at the best time. His blue flame isn't finished yet. He's only got 1-0 on his units, whereas if we can actually finally find a unit here. Zerg player, it's on 2-0. No actual weapons upgrades. Strange. Oh, 2-2. He's got the melee upgrade, so it looks like he might be trying to play for some Ultralisks later on. No, he didn't. Counterattacks. The oh so popular counterattack. Brought to you by Zerg. And I think Nerchio can afford this a bit better than the Zerg player can. Blue flame finally kicks in. That's nice. Pretty big ball of units here. Might see kind of a quasi-base trade coming out. No tanks in position at home right now, just Hellbats. Nope, maybe the Zerg player is going to fall back. I don't like the Terran player pushing in here. I think that he's in a position to get just surrounded and stomped on. Here comes the big attack. Probably could be targeting the tanks a little bit better onto the roaches. A lot of friendly fire, splash damage, shooting the Zerglings. He actually took that fight a lot better than I thought he would. His tanks are just carving in here. Having the Banshees obviously helps a fair bit as part of that fight. I'm surprised he's still pushing in though. I think he's pushing his luck. At this point I think it'd be more worthwhile for him to have backed up, rejoined his army, and come back even stronger. Things are slowing down because my computer is made out of papier-mâché and bad dreams. Picking up a few free units. This base isn't doing much. This base is just up and going. Very interesting to see him expand to the right. It's just not what I would have expected. Now, Nerchio isn't taking the best of trades here, but at the same time, I don't think that it's necessarily worthwhile for the Terran. Wow. There's the Nerchio. There's the Nerchio. And I would agree that that wasn't the best play out of WarBudTek, but Nerchio did not have, I think, what he needed to deal with that composition. Straight up roach, Zergling against Blue Flame Hellions and Blue Flame Hellbats and tanks in siege mode. It's not quite textbook in my mind. If he had gone out to Swarm Hosts, he probably could have broken through that a lot easier. Maybe even roach drops to get on top of that mech. He did have burrow as well, and there's no detection with the Terran army. I just don't think he quite had the setup he needed to. Is there a roach built somewhere that I could see if there's... Pretty sure the Zerg units got burrow finished. Can't tell now at this point. But I think Nerchio didn't deal with that well enough. If he stomped through that pile of tanks, the Terran player would be back in nowhere's land. Barely any economy. So I can only agree with Nerchio to a certain extent. Anyways, SeKo Starcraft. Hope you guys enjoyed that a whole bunch. And I should be having some more pro games coming at you here in the next little bit. We'll talk to you later.